Al has some of the most brutal breakup and bad relationship songs. I don't know who hurt this man.
Hi, I'm Mark Daly, and I'm here on the All Over the Place podcast, where the funsanity never ends.
Hello and welcome back to All Over the Place, where the funsanity never ends. I am your host, Eric Pervoznik, and I'm just thank you again, folks. I know it sounds like a broken record. I don't care. I like records. I'm not broken though, and I just want to keep thanking everybody. We are growing every week. It's because you're liking, you're sharing, you're subscribing. We can't thank you enough. And Jim, I'll bring you back on so you can thank people too.
Thank you very much, Jim, folks. Hey. Good to be here.
So, as you can see in the background right now, before we get to our guest who's going to be joining us tonight, this is a show I've been waiting for. This show for a long time. We've had this bookmarked for a while, and I'm excited to do the show because Jim and I are huge Weird Al fans. But we are bringing in my opinion, the world's foremost Weird Al Yankovic expert. He's got a doppelganger in L.A., but this guy I've known forever. He's been a guest on the show last year, season 2, and it's always a pleasure to welcome back to the show my friend AJ Laird. How are you, AJ?
Hello, fellas. Thanks so much for having me back.
Well, always fun to have you here on the show. And the introduction, like I gave you with the Weird Al superfan number 1. And actually, really quickly, how many times have you seen Weird Al?
Oh my gosh, more than a dozen, less than 20.
Oh, really? I figured you were in the stratosphere with all the people I see at the shows, like 50 plus.
No, I wish, but I did get tickets for the next tour. It's already for next summer, and I'm all set for Madison, Wisconsin. So we're all, and It should be Highland Park, Illinois. That the old Ravinia, but they haven't gone on sale yet. So when that comes up, so we'll do 2 next season.
There you go. All right. See, I've got the Phoenix show bookmarked, and maybe the Vegas show. We'll see what happens.
Nice.
But before we get to that, though, the last time you joined us, we were talking about all things acting with you, and so tell us what's going on right now, especially about anything coming up seasonally for the Over Our Head Players.
Well, hey, thanks for the plug. The Over Our Head Players is an organization I'm very happy to be a part of. We are resided at the 6th Street Theater in Racine, Wisconsin. It is one of the state's foremost independent black box theaters. So we are over 30 years strong. And we just had a major renovation in our house. So we had a very, very charitable couple that donated $50,000 to us as a matching gift if we could raise another $50,000. So we ended up actually raising more than $50,000. So we ended up having over $100,000. So we got all new risers, new seats, a new dressing area backstage, a shower in our cast bathroom, which is very helpful, new light rig, new lights, new sound, the whole 9 yards. So it's pretty spectacular looking. And we just closed the first show of our new season. Grand reopening season. We did Stephen King's Misery, so that was a very big hit. The next 2 shows are somewhat original, so we have our Theater Schmeater Christmas show, so that's sort of Racine's answer to SNL, so it's live sketches, live music, but this year we actually have a theme, so it's all Christmas themed. We had our first read-through tonight, and it's going to be very funny, so we've been writing that for a little bit. Then we have our annual Snowdance 10-minute comedy festival, not an original musical, but a newer musical that's kind of gaining cult status called Ride the Cyclone. And then we're closing with the farce, The 39 Steps, based on the Hitchcock movie. So it's going to be a very busy season.
Very nice, very nice. And be sure to check it out, folks. If you're in Wisconsin or within driving distance to Racine, Wisconsin, be sure to check out Over Our Head Players at overourheadplayers.org.
Very nice. Yes.
Yeah. So, and also, what's going on now? What's the latest with all your myriad of parts? You're on TV. You're on screen. What's going on?
I'll always staying busy. Some very well paid background work. So tomorrow night I should be a floating head walking past one of the lead people on Chicago PD. I got to do Mr. Throwback with Steph Curry and Adam Pally over the summer. Lots of films coming up, stuff that's been shot in the last couple years, but in the indie world, it can take forever for those things to come out. So quite a few things in the pipeline. So we're excited to get things out and running.
Excellent. And we brought you up. I'm not sure if you had the chance to watch the episode yet, but we threw a plug at Through Eyes of Grace when we
so
when
we
Victoria
are
Jackson, we brought her
very
up.
close to that one. Yeah, very close to that one being done. It's in the final editing stages. The the last word I got was that the initial cut was about 2 hours and 45 minutes. So they got to cut it down. Distributors wanted under 2 if we can do it. So now it's around hour 45, hour 50. So we're looking at distribution and seeing what we can do about getting that out to the public ASAP.
Nice. And how can people keep track of that? Or just basically go to your IMDb page and go to websites from there?
Yep, pretty much. So all that stuff is all your normal socials, your Facebook, your Instagram. You know, if you look up Through Eyes of Grace, and that information will also be on my IMDb page as well.
Awesome. And for those of you who are listening on one of the audio platforms, that's AJ Laird, AJ Laird.
Coolio.
Well, folks. So as I mentioned at the start of the show, earmarking this one, I even broke out the accordion. My dad's from 1955.
I love it.
Don't worry, I'm not going to play it. I don't want people running away and never listening to the show again. No, it ain't pretty age. I tried a little bit earlier. We don't need. With a little bit of practice, maybe. Hey, you know what? That'll be for we'll kick off season 4. So that gives me until next July.
There you go. Practice time.
Get a beer barrel polka going, something like that. So, but folks, right now, Weird Al is we're going on what 50 or 5 decades with this guy now. I mean, 1979 and early 80s with the albums. It's a wide swath of songs, but we are not doing parodies. How Al cut his teeth and got the best known. We're going to go, because we're all super fans here, we're going to do our 3 favorite Weird Al Yankovic style songs, which is something I think he is getting just as strong. And I think it's always been strong, but in recent years, it's my opinion that he has just gotten stronger with the style songs. And our +1 is going to be one Weird Al deep cut that most people don't, only the super fans really know about it, that we think everybody should know. And we're going to kick it off with Mr. AJ Laird, super fan number 1.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, this one was hard because I mean there's so many albums and so many great songs, and quite honestly, as weird as it is to say, haha, no pun intended, I'm not the biggest fan of the parodies. He is such a good writer and such a good producer, and I think you're really limiting yourself when you get to a parody where you have to match up the cadence of the lyrics and the melody and to have it sound exactly like. I mean, there's an art to that too, but his original stuff is just so much better to me. And if you really sit down and think about it, not just like, okay, yeah, that comedy guy is kind of funny, but some of the most well-produced records, if you really sit and listen to some of that stuff with headphones on and no distractions, and you just hear the production value, it's insane. And people really don't give him enough credit as a writer and as a producer. So it's fun to not take a look at the parody side and to only be looking at the original stuff. So as far as the original material, I would say my number 3 would be, because this was so hard. I had like 50. I could narrow it down. But as far as like the actual style songs, my favorite style parodies, so it's like sounding like a band, but it's not really a song, is the White Stripes Knockout CNR. I absolutely love that, just the subject matter and the Charles Nelson Riley references and everything else. I think it's just perfect. And it sounds just like the White Stripes. So I think that's probably my favorite of the style, the band or genre style parodies.
Agree 100% with although I do like the parodies, but again, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, the style songs have just, it's a different level with Al. And, and quickly to what you said though, with, listening with headphones and no distractions, just like blurred lines into word crimes, just the little things in there.
Yep.
Which matches up perfectly with the Robin Thicke. I almost called him Alan Thicke. The Robin Thicke song, but but style was CNR, and I've got to mark this off because it's on my list too. So we're just going to have to. Fortunately, I've got some backups. But
me too. Thank you for letting me go first.
Yes. we're always stepping on each other on this one. But yeah, great call with CNR. And so now, Jim, we're going to go up to you for your number 3.
Oh yeah, I do not have an accordion, sadly. I do have my Yoda shirt, and
Nice.
also I have my spatula from Spatula City.
Nice.
So I am prop endowed as well. So for my third one, I'm gonna go with this is a breakup song, and I think honestly, Weird Al has some of the most brutal breakup and bad relationship songs. I don't know who hurt this man, but he writes just absolutely amazing breakup songs. And my pick is One More Minute, which absolutely brilliant parody of the kind of 60s doo-wop love songs, just with his twisted spin on it. And yeah, I never get tired of it. It cracks me up every time. And and anybody who's had their heart broken in a million pieces knows exactly how it feels. So that's my pick.
Al is there to help us.
That's a great pick. That was on my list as well, just
Yes.
like right below my top 3. I love that song. You can't beat it.
My first one, I'm gonna go with the palindrome heavy Bob. Al's tribute to Bob Dylan, and going to what AJ said, Al is such a genius writer. Every line in that song is a palindrome. While he's paying tribute to the lyrics or the style of Bob Dylan, and that's from the Poodle Hat album, and just absolutely love that song. I'm not a huge Dylan fan, but I love what Al does in the Dylan style.
That, Bob.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's on my honorable mentions. I actually had a college roommate who was a Bob Dylan fanatic that would play his stuff on a boombox every single day that we were roommates. And after a semester, I was so sick of Bob Dylan, I can't even tell you. So around that time, that's around the time Bob came out, and I was like, yes, thank you. Somebody understands.
Revenge is yours.
Yes,
That's awesome.
So that's a personal connection with that song.
Dig. All right, well, AJ, now we're going to go down to you or around the horn to you for your number 2 pick.
Okay, so if this, sorry to spoil anything if it wasn't edited in post, but yeah, so I forgot the rules. I'm very sorry. So yes, my number 2 would be the very 20s and 30s inspired jazz style parody. This Is the Life off of Dare to Be Stupid, but was also in the movie Johnny Dangerously. It's just such a great production with sort of polka-y, but big band sound and just the old timey vocals and the harmonies and just just the utter arrogance of just everything you could buy with all the money in the world. It's just lyrically it's fun, musically it's fun. It's just a great song to listen to. Yeah,
Al had this weird tendency to either be on the soundtrack of movies that didn't do well, or I don't know, appear in movies that did do well. I don't know. It's this strange thing.
Until he did his own movie, and then
we'll figure that
every song in that, and one of the I'm not. Never mind. I might just edit that little blurb out because someone may be listing something from Al's movie. So I'll be quiet on that one. So Jim, over to you for your second pick.
My number 2, I believe AJ already mentioned it, but it's I have to pick it because I love so much Dare to Be Stupid. A beautiful parody of Devo and kind of 80s electro in general. In my opinion, it's unofficially the greatest Devo song ever made, and Devo agrees with me on that. I've seen interviews with Mark Mothersbaugh saying it was the greatest thing he'd ever heard. So I feel like I'm backed up by authority on that one. But yeah, absolutely love it. It's hilarious. And yeah, I've always gotten a kick out of it ever since I was a kid. So and this is from a Devo fan. So yeah, all about Dare to Be Stupid. I'm all over that one.
Sure, Mothersbaugh. That's can't get much higher than that.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, guys, but didn't Mark Mothersbaugh say that he just basically wanted to quit at that stage because he could never make a Devo song that good?
Yes, pretty much. Yeah, he just said he was that's better than he was ever going to be able to do, which is pretty good, pretty high quality compliment for a parody.
That is high praise. And just
Better than you got from Coolio, anyway.
True. Or who was it?
And look where that got him.
The Blunt guy. Who's
Yeah?
Was it James Blunt with yanking away the permission? Don't mess with Weird. Talking about bad juju. Don't mess with Weird Al.
Yeah, where's that guy now?
Yeah, exactly.
Was that James Blunt? I thought it was Lady Gaga that did that.
Oh no, that's a difference. That Lady Gaga's management screwed up that one. And once she found out about it, she's like, she loved the idea. And she
was all cool with all that.
So fortunately that got made. But and just a quick quick little Hollywood encounter. My first Weird Al show at the Greek, and this would have been on the Running with Scissors tour. Taking a leak next to Mark Mothers. I was like, Mark Mothersbaugh was on one side of me, and the guy from, I can't remember his name, but Doug Fader, from the Knack. So I had two Weird Al parodied guys, or style parodied, next to me. I'm like, okay, this is a good first Weird Al show. And I was wearing my Yoda t-shirt that night too. So
nice.
So, but going to my number 2 pick here is from the Straight Outta Linwood album, and I am not a fan of Rage Against the Machine, but my God, I'll Sue Ya, the style parody to Rage Against the Machine. So you want to talk about just great lyrics? Paul Westerberg's my number 1. Mo Bird from The Pursuit of Happiness, Stan Ridgway, Jason Isbell, my number 5 favorite songwriter of all time. No apologies whatsoever. And you're in the company with those top 4 guys, is Weird Al Yankovic. And just the little asides, like I'm going to sue Wyoming, or I'll sue you. No, I'm going to sue Colorado because it looks too much like Wyoming.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sue Ben Affleck. I don't even need a reason. Just stuff like that. I'll sue you. Straight Outta Linwood, Rage Against the Machine parody. That's my number 2.
There's a quote from Dr. Demento I like. He says that, he says that Weird Al is great at puncturing the pomposity of the music industry, and there's nobody more pompous than Rage Against the Machine that deserves to get gone after. So, yeah, I love that song too. It's hilarious.
Weird Al, and you've heard us many a time on this show when it's not even about Weird Al. Can do no wrong. Well, AJ, this takes us to your number 1 now.
Okay. So this one was easy. And I don't necessarily, because like I said, all of his original stuff is really good, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a direct style parody or a band parody. But by far, when you talk about production value and just the sheer, oh my God, how did he pull this off? And to sit and listen to over and over and over again and pick out every single nuance. My favorite Weird Al song of all time, and it would be impossible for him to do this live, unfortunately, is Hardware Store. So Hardware Store, just front to back, just the pace, the constant lyrics going back and forth, the different voices, and then that, hold your breath for, what seems like forever to run through that final list of things that you're getting that, obviously was edited, but just to sit there and listen to that, it's a pure piece of genius. And I will never, ever, ever get tired of that song. It's perfect.
Love it. That's an honorable mention for me. Absolutely. Good stuff.
Cheers.
Jim, over to you.
Sorry, before I get to my number 1, I'm going to mention a couple honorable mentions that you guys haven't covered yet. Trigger Happy, which I always thought was funny as hell, and My Baby's in Love with Eddie Vedder.
Nice Zydeco.
Two ones. Yes, Zydeco parody, and the most insanely catchy.
Yep.
But for my number 1. Al has always been really good at holiday songs, but this one is far and away his best. Christmas at Ground Zero. Hilarious song, pitch perfect parody of the kind of the classic family Christmas music from days of yore, and just the most twisted spin on it, and just insanely catchy song. Like it works. It almost works. If you don't listen to the twisted lyrics, it works beautifully as just like a holiday favorite. I mean, the music and the vocal work and everything. It's really a pretty song. But as soon as you start to listen to it, it's just the most twisted, funny stuff out there. But and there's plenty of other ones like the Night Santa went crazy, which I love. But yeah, Christmas at Ground Zero, fantastic. It's got to be my number one.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. I was just thinking about it. As soon as you said Christmas at Ground Zero, I'm like, yeah, and the other one, okay, Night Santa went crazy. I like that one too, but yeah, there's nothing like Christmas at Ground Zero. You hear those sleigh bells and that initial sort of 60s riff, you expect Darlene Love to start singing her ass off, and all of a sudden then it's Al. And you go, oh my gosh, no, what's this going to be? So it's perfect. It's a perfect Christmas song.
Can't argue with that. Although, I got to check some more stuff off here, but I think it's okay. That we double up because it's Al. This guy's a genius, and we're bound to.
It's Al.
I will now switch it to one of my honorable mentions. Trigger Happy, love that the surf just surfs up and Trigger Happy, awesome fun stuff. Also in my honorable mention will be My Own Eyes from the Mandatory Fun album. I don't know what style is parody, and it may not even be a style parody. It's fun as Weird Al does it better than anyone, and just harrowing things that you never would have thought of. But Al, he's the genius. He does think about it. And but what you said, AJ, him never being able to do Hardware Wars, or I'm sorry, Hardware Store, Hardware Wars. Yeah. There's a Star Wars. Jim, your shirt threw me. Hardware Wars. But Hardware Store. And maybe he has done this. Like I haven't seen Weird Al in a while. I haven't seen him since the Strings Attached tour, so it's coming up on 10 years.
That was a great tour too.
But Pancreas, his homage to the Beach Boys. And if for no other reason, that's the only song I think in existence that mentions the duodenum.
You might be right.
There might be some medical jingle somewhere that the people are, when they're taking their exams, studying up. I don't know, but Weird Al, Pancreas. And again, you're that melody coming in. You're expecting, Brian Wilson or Mike Love to start singing, and nope, it's Weird Al doing his ode to one of our body organs. Good stuff, Pancreas.
And a much maligned organ it is.
It's no spleen, I tell you that much right now. Says the guy with no spleen. But I digress. So there's our Threefer, folks, the Weird Al style songs. And now we're going to go to the one deep cut everyone should know. And I'm going to save you, AJ, for last on that one because you are the Al King.
Ooh.
You are the man.
I don't know about that.
Jim, we're going to flip it up to you for your one deep cut everyone should know outside of the Weird Al superfan circle.
So my pick, I'm going to start with some honorable mentions. So apologies if I step on anybody else's picks. But I have to include I Can't Watch This. A great parody of You Can't Touch This, and great lampooning of Dumb Down TV from the 90s. I Want to Do Duck, which is, of course, the great Huey Lewis parody that a lot of people don't mention. And I have to give a shout out to the Captain Underpants theme from the Captain Underpants movie.
Oh yeah,
which I think is hilarious and awesome, but because the movie, most people don't. It didn't get a lot of cultural traction, but I think it's a great song he did. And he also gets name checked in the comics, for that matter, which is probably why he ended up doing the theme song for it. But anyway, so my pick is Taco Grande. It just happens to be one of my personal favorites. I believe it's off the Lollapalooza album, although I could be wrong about that because I haven't listened to it in a while. But
I think that's
I think it's. I just think.
I'm pretty sure that's Off the Deep End. Yeah.
Yeah.
Off the Deep End. Okay, that sounds right. Okay. Which is the first album I ever bought and loved. But yeah, Taco Grande, funny as hell. I like a lot of his songs about food. I happen to love Mexican food, so that song makes me hungry every single time I listen to it. And you got to love Weird Al and Cheech Marin on a song together. And it's hilarious and I love it. But a lot of people don't know about it. It's not, It's not, iconic like a lot of his songs are now, but it's a really fun listen. So that's my pick.
Well, off the deep end, that was more like that was the Smells Like Nirvana, and that was the big one off that. So anything was swimming in the wake of that one just kind of got lost.
Right.
So good call. All right. Well, for mine, I'm gonna and no stepping on there, Jim. I've got a couple of honorable mentions, and one of them is from the UHF album, the Hot Rocks Polka, which is strictly Stone stuff. Love that one. It's a beauty. And another one that I was fortunate enough to see when I saw Al at the Orange County Fair early 2000 or 2001. And he, before it popped up on Poodle Hat, got to hear him working through Party at the Leper Colony. Which just... This is going to be an amazing...
Such a dark song. Oh, my God.
Surf rock.
The playlist that accompanies this particular show is going to be a lot of fun to put together. And as AJ mentioned earlier, just the little asides where the girl coughs or she sneezes and she loses her eye, just little stuff like that. And I got to see that one live before it popped up on an album. But my number one in this category, the Al Deep Cut, also from Straight Outta Linwood, I'm going with Close But No Cigar.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a really fun song. I think he bangs the cowbell on that one, doesn't he? Or is that a different one?
You are correct, yes. Well, we'll find out for sure on the playlist. But just Al, just as Jim mentioned earlier, he's the king of breakup songs, and he's in Close But No Cigar. He's feeling good, but then there's just one thing. Sorry, no can do.
Yeah, that close. But no cigar. And that is my one deep cut. I think everyone outside of the Weird Al sphere should know. But now we take it to AJ Laird, the capo here with the Weird Al. And what is your number one deep cut that everyone should know? I had a couple honorable ones too. I didn't throw any of those out before. I love truck driving. Driving a big old truck with the high heels on. That's a curveball you don't see coming. It's just a nice little country parody. And all of a sudden there's this deep ass voice and he's just driving a truck with his high heels on. And you just don't see that coming. And that's a lot of fun. And then two off of In 3D. So Midnight Star, talking about tabloids like the Inquirer. That's a fun one. And That Boy Can Dance. So that's a nice deep one then too. I love the music in that. It's just a good rocker. But oddly enough, like my favorite deep cut wouldn't even seem like it's an Al song, but it's one of those things where if you don't really know like how well he writes just music, not even just lyrics. But if I ever got to walk out on stage, people walk out on stage and they have their theme music and whatever else, off of UHF, it's only about 1:40 long, but the instrumental Fun Zone, it is such a fun, it's in the title. It's such a fun little piece of music, and they come out on that, a lot of times on tour, and it gets everyone pumped up. And, a lot of people don't realize that that's actually on an album. So when they come out on stage and they play Fun Zone and everyone goes insane, it's legit on an album. If you didn't have UHF, you wouldn't know that. So that for the deeper cuts, that's probably my favorite, is the short little instrumental Fun Zone on UHF.
This is why I saved you for last, AJ. That is a genius move, genius call. Love it.
Just get you pumped every time. Yep. That's one of those, if you like for the old people that had the CD players and hit repeat, that was always like if I'm walking around with my Discman back in the day and I had that album on, it was just like again. You could just go walking for hours, and just like that's a lot of repeats at 1:43 to get a good walk in. But yeah, it really gets you pumped.
Love it. I love all of our calls here tonight, folks. This is, like I said, I've had this episode earmarked for a long time. We are going to be dropping this on the eve of Weird Al's 65th birthday. Happy birthday to Weird Al. As I mentioned earlier, my number 5 songwriter of all time. This accordion, I'm hoping to one day have him sign this thing. And
I'll bet he would.
It's our own little Alapalooza tonight. And AJ Laird from the Over Our Head Players. Been an absolute pleasure having you, my friend. And folks,
thank you as always, guys.
When you get the playlist for this one, make sure you turn it up, and especially the 3 that we picked and some of the honorable mentions for ones you may not know. Weird Al's the man. He's the king. And make sure you check him out on his big tour next year, coming to a city near you. Thanks for listening all over the place, everybody. We'll be back real soon with more Fun Sanity. Take care.
All over the place, where the Fun Sanity never ends.
This is Free City.
Located right next to Spatula City.